Okay, so we're on session 5. This week we're going to be exploring a very general topic. There's a few bits that I just want to kind of weave in, and there's a great quote about weaving our parachutes from John Kabat-Zinn, who is one of the founders of the clinical tool of mindfulness that we were talking about last week. So last week, your prescription of activities for well-being was to undertake a 10-minute body scan once a day. And this is an information gathering tool. It has the bonus of possibly activating your parasympathetic nervous system, though not necessarily a given. We're going to explore a little bit more what I mean by the parasympathetic nervous system a little bit more today as well. So this is autonomic nervous system. There was the pause to check in with yourself 3 times a day. It can be helpful to set an alarm. And this is this information gathering, a quick scan from head to toe. How am I? Do I need rest? Do I need nourishment? Do I need water? Do I need comfort? Do I need to change my shoes? Do I need to get a scarf so I'm warmer? Those sorts of moments where we kind of suffer and struggle on, and we can cause ourselves discomfort that then can change the trajectory of our day, in fact, if we take care of our needs as we're going along. So that's what that home practice is for. And then the final home practice was a life well lived. So to go back to week 1, and this, we looked at it a little bit last week as well, check in on your life. Are you living it well? What could you be incorporating into your day to improve your well-being? Do you need to book in well-being appointments again? So that invitation to stop and reflect and look back on where you've come. So I'm going to pause the recording there. For those of you who are practicing or watching this in your own time, an invitation to just take a moment and reflect on how you have found this week's home practice. I can't work out where the pause is. Hang on. So for those of you practicing, watching this later, you may be relieved to know that it's very difficult to do these home practices, and I myself didn't manage to do those pauses. This is information. This is so important for us to know how little time we give to ourselves. So I hope you are living life well and doing the things that you need to do, or are working out ways of doing more of the things, like you're planning to include these things into your day, because that's what we're here for, this well-being. Okay, so last week we looked at mindfulness. We've been looking at the reticular activation system. We've looked at the vagus nerve. And I've been talking about the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system throughout the sessions, but now we're going to move into looking at exactly what I mean, what I'm talking about here. So this is information gathering about what's going on in our bodies. This gives us an opportunity to switch this guy off and say that our thoughts are not necessarily facts, and that our body might be telling a different story to what's going on. So I'm going to stop the recording. Or did I even start the recording, actually? Because otherwise it won't. Hang on, wrong thing. Where is it? Okay, yeah, sorry. So I'm going to stop the recording, and an invitation for you to go and have a look at the links in the slides. I'll add them to the email so they're easier to find. No, I don't want to.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So So those videos to watch are in the email. I'll go over this verbally as well. So your parasympathetic nervous system is part of the autonomic nervous system. It originates in your spinal cord and the medulla and controls homeostasis, or the maintenance of the body's systems. So I think we looked at the vagus nerve, like it's connected to all of our organs pretty much. The parasympathetic nervous system controls the rest and digest functions of the body, though it's more than that. But for simplicity, so this rest and digest, this restoration, this is where the body can heal, where it says, okay, things are calm enough, I'm not in danger, I can fix things, I can clean things up, I can tidy. The sympathetic nervous system, and it sounds like sympathy, it sounds like it's going to be the nice one, but it is. It's not that it's not nice, but it's also part of the autonomic nervous system. It originates in the spinal cord and specifically in the thoracic and the lumbar regions. So kind of this bit here and this bit here. And it controls the body's fight or flight responses, or how we react to danger. So these two are always working together, and they're a little team to help us live and get through our day. We need stress, otherwise we wouldn't do anything. But we don't want too much that it's overwhelming. So when things are overwhelming, it's when the sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. Now there's fight, flight, but there's also freeze, so like a rabbit in headlights. And then there's also a newer concept that's been coming to mind, and that's fawn. So this is where people pleasing comes in, and we're going to move into this a little bit within. We're going to talk about boundaries. This is where we put others' needs before our own, at the risk of our own health and well-being. So where we might be trying to calm situations down by taking on too much, because that's our way of coping or managing under stress. Okay, so with the sympathetic nervous response, the body speeds up, it tenses up, and it becomes more alert. Functions that are not essential for survival are shut down. So the following are specific reactions of the sympathetic nervous system: increase in the rate and constriction of the heart, dilation of the bronchial tubes in the lungs and pupils in the eyes, contraction of muscles, release of adrenaline from the adrenal gland, conversion of glycogen or glucose to provide energy for the muscles, shutdown of processes not critical for survival, decrease in saliva production, so our mouths might go dry. The stomach doesn't move for digestion, and it doesn't release digestive secretion. So if we've got food in our stomach, so when we're really stressed, we might be sick, for example, because our body goes, I can't deal with this right now, get rid of it. Decrease in urinary output, and then sphincter contraction as well. So this is like a kind of like holding in. Or it might be that you need the toilet immediately because your body's like, get rid of this stuff now, because we need to survive, and I can't be dealing with this right now, let's get rid of it. The parasympathetic nervous system counterbalances the sympathetic nervous system. It restores the body to a state of calm. Specific responses are a decrease in heart rate, constriction of bronchial tubes in the lungs and pupils in the eyes, relaxation of muscles, saliva production, the stomach moves and increases secretions for digestion, increase in urinary output, and sphincter relaxation. So this will be like where the body will get the nutrients out of our body and heal, nourish, soothe, calm. You need both. But as a tendency within humans, especially within the Western model of life, busy, things to do, we tend to spend a lot of time in the sympathetic, with the sympathetic nervous system activated. We're highly stressed. We have all our basic needs pretty much met, but we are more stressed than people who are living more rural lives within tribes, for example, who are following the rhythms of nature rather than the rhythms of modern living, modern life. Okay, So before we move into just a little bit more of a description about clinical tool of mindfulness, are there any questions about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system? Pause recording. Now there's a lovely video that I can't show you. I'm not even going to bother. I'll put it into the description. You'll have it in the slides. So mindfulness has been used as a clinical tool for well-being for the last 20 years. And Jon Kabat-Zinn is a doctor who's the one who's been responsible for getting it into mainstream healthcare. And mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which is what I'm trained in, and mindfulness-based stress reduction and relapse prevention. The MBCT, the cognitive therapy version, has been used with people with depression, and it's been shown to be as effective as antidepressants. So these techniques are being clinically shown to be incredibly helpful to people in managing their well-being. And he said the little things, the little moments, they aren't little. So we have a tendency to search for the pleasant and push away the things that aren't pleasant. And in doing so, we miss so much of our days, those small moments that actually make up our lives. The majority of our lives are completely neutral with very little information, but we don't pay attention to them because we are worried about the future or the past or planning, or we don't actually spend much time with ourselves as we are just being with things as they are, with tender, gentle, non-judgmentalness. So, derived from the work of Jon Kabat-Zinn, it practices present moment awareness via meditation and breathing exercises, all these pauses, present moment awareness. And it's fundamentally understood as the state in which one becomes more aware of one's physical, mental, and emotional condition in the present moment without judgment, and by paying attention to a variety of experiences such as bodily sensations, cognitions, and feelings, and accepting them without being influenced by them. So noticing emotions and learning to be literate around our emotions or our physical experiences, we have an ability to take better care of ourselves. So if you're feeling angry, well, what is anger? Where is that in my body? I feel hot, I feel warm, and my cheeks go funny. Like learning these kind of intimate messages, being interested in them later on when we can notice things going, oh, my cheeks have gone hot. Yeah, I'm going to get into this cycle of being angry about something, and I don't want to impact my stress levels in those ways. So we can learn to ride the waves of our experiences with a little bit more compassion towards ourselves, and prevent some of the challenges that we bring on ourselves. So it helps us to better control our thoughts rather than be controlled by them. And Jon Kabat-Zinn says that living in a chronic state of unawareness can cause us to miss much of what is most beautiful and meaningful in our lives. It's used clinically as a tool with vascular disease, traumatic brain injury, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, anxiety disorders, bipolar, general emotional distress, addictions. But pain management has been the main tool. Most of the information is around pain. So over the last few months, you've been practicing observing, last month, not months, you've been practicing observing your routines and habits and the relationships between the way you think and how you feel. So we're information gathering still. I think these 6 sessions will be something that you can refer back to, and maybe even not process for a few more months. We can't necessarily change our experiences, but we have a choice as to how we respond to them. You've got some new tools that you're equipped with. to replace some of maybe the negative thinking with calmness and compassion and positive action. I think the biggest one has probably been so far from the feedback people have given me is around the sleep and that biphasal sleep, that you can have 2 sleeps. That there is this thing that says everyone should be having 8 hours, but 85% of mammals don't sleep in that way, and we certainly didn't before the Industrial Revolution. So those sorts of things that can step us out. Okay, so as that topic was being explored last week, and that's just to give a bit more information around the mindfulness as a clinical tool, you can have a look back and go over. But within session 1, a couple of people mentioned around building healthy boundaries. So we're going to move in to just a few slides of that, and then we'll have a discussion about that. Healthy boundaries. So the dictionary defines the word boundary as a real or imagined line that marks the edge or limit of something. We must set invisible boundaries for ourselves that define what is appropriate for us in relation to physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. For example, our boundaries may include, but not exclusively, our time, our money, people, very complex, and the environments that we're in. So we may have clear boundaries around some of these things, and then not so clear, and then completely woolly around some of them. So what we're thinking about is how, as like with a house, it's got walls, it's got windows, some of them open, some of them are closed, some of them might be firmly shut, but we'd like to open them. We have the boundaries maybe of our gardens, where there might be holes in the fence where things get in, or all sorts of ways of thinking about our boundaries. Okay. Having clear, firm limits around yourself is a sign of self-respect. It means you value yourself, your time, your energy, and your resources. Strong boundaries usually lead to lower levels of stress, more fulfillment, higher self-respect, and self-esteem. So strong boundaries doesn't necessarily mean being really firm and really rigid around things. It might mean having more flexibility, might be being less boundaried, might be being more open, like not having a wall, but having a fence like this where things then can pass through. Low or no boundaries can leave us in difficult positions where we become resentful, burnt out, get taken advantage of, and cumulatively this can chip away at our self-esteem and our self-respect. Signs to look out for your boundaries: attracting the wrong type of people, oversharing, undersharing, feelings of guilt, hating to let people down or people pleasing, having difficulty decision making, feeling drained or resentful, feeling disrespected, and having difficulty respecting other people's boundaries. So it's not just our boundaries, it's other people's boundaries as well. So we have to be careful around them. How are your boundaries? Are you living like you have a secure and solid house constructed around you? Or are you living as though there are no walls, no roof, and no boundary lines? What are the impacts of this on your quality of life? So have a think about where you might need to implement some boundaries. Where in your life do you feel drained, put upon, overwhelmed, resentful, or frightened? And reflect on when, where, and with whom you feel safe, comfortable, respected, and in control. It's highly likely that these situations, these are situations with reasonable and respectful boundaries. So these relationships and these moments and these environments where we feel safe are kind of our model for other situations. And there's no hard and fast rules about these things. We will be in situations where we're challenged and where our boundaries will be challenged, or where we may accept being talked to in a way that we wouldn't necessarily if it was within our family and friends, particularly like within medical situations, and the way that we can be spoken to by professionals, that and those that how to support ourselves within those situations around when our boundaries are crossed, how we take care of ourselves. So I'm going to ask within home practice that we're going to move into a discussion for those of the people in the live session. This is going to be part of your home practice. Are there any changes you'd like to make? Are you missing any? Are some of your boundaries too rigid? So just having a kind of general think about it. I'm going to ask you to drop into your body again like a barometer. Checking the weather daily is something that most of us do, I think. So the invitation is, whenever you're checking the weather, to check in on your weather. How are you doing? Any storms brewing? Sunny and bright? Noticing, listening, and paying attention. Don't have to change anything, it's just noticing. Because in turn, that does kind of change things when we pay attention to ourselves. And I'm going to give you another mindfulness practice, a breath practice, which is around 10 minutes. So this is going to continue to work out that grey matter, building and strengthening those neural pathways that you've been working on. And remembering that quote from John Kabat-Zinn, the little things, the little moments, they aren't little. So I'm going to pause the recording. For those of you practicing at home, do reach out if there's anything that you would like some further clarification on or support around. Okay.